So I've been thinking about the trip I took up to the Space Coast to see the launch, or not see the launch as the case may be, and more about that in just a minute. But I wanted to talk about the car first and sort of the decision that I made to stop at the Supercharger along the way because we weren't sure exactly how far we were going to go in order to see the launch. And the challenge was, it wasn't really range anxiety per se as much as it was sort of this thought about how I was going to manage my time and my energy so that I would have enough energy to be able to drive around while I was up there. In retrospect, I had plenty of energy left in the car, and there was another supercharger that was relatively close. I could have gone maybe just a little bit farther north or come back to the one I was at. I would have wound up where we stopped with about 17 or 18% on the fuel consumption. So I would have been able to make it back to that same supercharger where I stopped, probably with 9% or so if I made it that way. Or alternatively, could have made it most of the way home before I went. So it was just sort of an interesting thought that I had to stop like that. And in retrospect, I don't know why I did exactly. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but next time I would probably do it differently and think about the whole approach to it differently, even though I didn't have a destination in mind. You can use the car to your advantage to find charging spots. And of course, there are other charging spots besides superchargers I could have used too. If I needed a little bit of energy, I could have stopped somewhere else and charged. So it was kind of peculiar that I made that decision. It's not wrong, but it's a learning experience. Up to this point, I've kind of been staying in town. I mean, I realize that I haven't driven a whole lot in the last 3 months, but mostly I've been staying in town, so it's really not such a huge deal to be able to go somewhere and keep charged and do whatever. And my couple of trips up to like Disney World, those were fine because I knew where I was going and where my destination was. So it was easy to manage that sort of consumption that way. But going somewhere where I didn't exactly know where I was going to go, I was kind of hedging a little bit, and I didn't need to. So it took extra time. I was a little annoyed as I was coming through that I had to stop 3 times for fueling. The first time was because I didn't charge at home because I was trying to use up some of my supercharger miles, and that's on me. That one I can understand. I probably could have gone ahead and charged at home and just taken it that way. And had I not had some miles that were expiring, I might very well have done that. Now for the other ones, it's an interesting choice that I made to stop like that. I probably should have just waited and just gone ahead and taken my chances a little bit and seen where it took me and suggested to me the place that I need to charge next. So interesting, just sort of a thought that I was having about the whole thing. Now, as far as those expiring supercharger miles, so Tesla never really announced what their plan was previously to when their supercharger miles would expire. So they had said you were going to get some free supercharger miles, and they left it kind of vague, and I think that was somewhat intentional about when your miles would expire. And so you might have them expire. I think the original plan was 6 months, then they kind of extended it to a year. And, but they never really made that clear until the April update to the app where they wound up telling you these are going to expire. Now, because I wasn't driving, I didn't even notice that the app had changed and it updated that way. And until that guy told me at the Tesla Supercharger. So then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, now I know. And I still have a lot of miles on there that are going to expire. So I've contacted Tesla to see if maybe they'll extend me, given the fact that Elon Musk had said he wanted to extend people. And I've heard about people being extended because of the stay-at-home orders. They were extending people by a little bit anyway, for the amount of time that they were trapped at home because they couldn't go out and charge. They weren't using them. And it's sort of a courtesy thing anyway. I mean, they're giving you these miles. I was looking at it and I was thinking to myself, if I had driven this myself, the day that I charged the 3 times, it would have cost me just about $20 for the whole trip, right around there somewhere, using the superchargers like that. And realistically, I would have charged at home first, so I would have saved about $6 or $7. So it would have cost me about $14 to do that trip. It's really not that expensive. If I think about the cost of gas, it's not that big a deal. So really, not that expensive. It's not a huge deal. I probably would have just charged at home and done it a little differently anyway. So it's a learning experience for me too. It's always about learning and kind of taking it on and trying something different because I don't know all the answers either. We're all kind of learning this as we go. So that was my take on that. Now, as far as the launch itself, so I went back and I was bothered by the fact we didn't see anything. And it's, the cloud cover is what it is. I couldn't see anything. That's the way it works sometimes. It's unfortunate, but that's life. So as I look at it and I think about the fact that I didn't see anything, I went back and I was watching the video again just to see if maybe there was something out there. What I did, I actually came along and I put my GoPro on the roof of the car, and that's what fell off. That was the camera that fell off. And I put it out there about 2 minutes before launch, and it was out there for about 6 minutes. So realistically, I should have caught the launch had we been able to see it. And then theoretically, I should have had the sound wave coming back at me. Now, because of the distance we were about a little under 70 miles, it should have taken about 5.5 minutes from the time we saw the launch till the time we felt the sound wave come to us. And I didn't hear the sound wave on there either. Now, on the one hand, there was a lot of wind blowing, so it's possible that the wind sort of deadened it out, and it's also possible the weather sort of deadened it in a way so we couldn't actually hear it. But just because I wanted to see what was going on, I put together my little video there with the whole timeline and tried to figure out exactly when things happened so that maybe there's a chance we might have seen something in there, but I don't think so. At first, I was thinking that the GoPro fell off the car because of the sound wave. And when I looked at the time, it was about 3.5 minutes after launch, so probably not in that case. It's unlikely that would have been the sound wave because of the distance we were. But you never know. There was this big roar just before it fell off. So, I don't know. The distance isn't right, but who knows? It was just interesting as sort of a philosophical, sort of mathematical problem to figure out, hey, where was how far away were we? Would we have seen it? Why didn't we see it? Kind of disappointing. So we will take another trip up there when there's another launch, daytime launch, to go and see it. There is, in fact, another launch this week. I think it's tomorrow, actually. But it's in the evening, and we're under this new stay-at-home order. It's a curfew because of the protests that are going on, so we can't go out. So we won't be going to see that one, even though it's in the evening. It would be easy to get to and much more visible because it's nighttime, but we won't be able to go to that one. So we'll pick another one that's coming up. There are some more coming up in July, maybe late June, early July. So we'll get to see some of those, and we'll see how it goes. So I did enjoy driving the car. It was a lot of fun to get out and drive a couple of times over the last couple of weeks to go up and almost see some launches. It was nice just to be out and doing something. And, kind of fun to drive the car again. I hadn't really driven it in 3 months, and it was nice just to get in it, drive it for a while, and kind of get used to it again, because I really do like the car. It's nice to be able to drive it. So there you go. I just wanted to give you some quick updates and thoughts about the supercharging and why I did some of the things I did. It was kind of weird, but it worked. So there you go.